Caesar biography, reading 7. Proprietor in Spain, candidate for consul in Rome. Here's the background information you need for these readings. Well, Caesar just served as praetor. Now he goes out as propraetor. A propraetor is a 1-year office where the praetor leaves, who was a judge in Rome, and now he becomes the military governor of a province, and therefore he holds the Imperium. The Imperium is the power given by the Roman Senate to a general to command, order, and take charge. In other words, he embodies the entire power of the Roman Republic in himself. Now, the provincial rule could either be used for profit, you could get bribes, as some have done, such as Varus, various years before, had just stripped temples of all their statues in gold. Or you could also go for glory. Caesar is in a very interesting space. He is in Spain, which is divided into Hispania Quitorior, closer Spain, or ulterior, farther Spain. This was a result of the Carthaginians had started to colonize. Romans occupied, and this had been now going on for about 150 years. Sertorius had gone there to start his war. A former supporter of Marius had built up a guerrilla warfare network and was causing problems. Pompeius was sent out as a young man to take care of it, and they were able to take care of it. So, therefore, Spain offers a tremendous opportunity for natural resources. There's gold, but a lot of silver, but primarily for human resources. This entire area was a Roman province, therefore, Roman citizens. Therefore, this is where legions could definitely be enlisted, conscripted, signed on. Now, there's still a serious part of farther Spain here that we see the Lusitanes, the Vitones. These tribes Caesar fought through and got to the very Atlantic Ocean, first time anyone had gone there. Now, Caesar, in his battles, and Roman generals, if they have enough body count, they could be acclaimed. That means shouted and greeted by their soldiers as imperator. Soldiers liked doing this after enough of a big battle because it was their show of respect. He had the Imperium already, but and he was a dux, a leader, but to be called as imperator means that the guys who were fighting under you said, "This guy, he's a general," and you would have that imperator title, Julius Caesar Imperator, until you had your triumph when you laid down your Imperium entering in Rome. Triumph is a huge parade, big thing, and it's a chance, a once in a lifetime opportunity to have a parade and all your soldiers behind you going through Rome, and you with a laurel leaf crown with a slave saying, "Remember, you were only human," as you would go through the streets of Rome. It was a big thing, and the Senate would vote on it and set the date. That's the tough part. That imperator position and the imperium means that Caesar was now entitled to having the big triumph, which is a once-in-a-lifetime thing, but you couldn't cross over the border of Rome, the boundary of Rome, to register as a candidate. Count and Caesar was now 40 years of age, and he had been in every office elected suo anno in his year. That means in his first year he could run for office. He would. It was the final rung of the cursus honorum. 2 consuls would stand, and they would be a candidatus for only about 2 to 3 weeks for bribes and some speeches, a lot of bribes. The purpose of the council would chair Senate meetings, introduce laws to the Senate. The year would be named after you. And then once laws got through the debate of the Senate, which hardly ever happened with the optimates pushing against legislation, laws would then go to the Assembly for ratification, just like we have a House of Representatives and a Senate. And then afterward, you would be assigned a proconsular province, a more important province, usually in the east, where there was a lot more money and a lot of opportunities. Now, we have to talk a little bit about the two members of the triumvirate. Pompeius Magnus, who starts out as the golden boy for Sulla years before. He had organized his own army. He was a Sullan general. He also had a number of military campaigns, most in Roman history, against Sertorius in Spain. He helped mop up the Spartacus slave revolt, although that was really Crassus. He had a command of Magnus Imperium, a great power over the pirates, including extending 100 miles within the coast of the Mediterranean, which is all of the Roman Empire at this time. He went against the king Mithridates, and he did massive wars, as well as bringing city-states and small countries under the power in the east. However, when he gets to Italy, he disbands his army, so his people don't think, oh, this is another Sulla. And unfortunately, he may be a good military commander, but he's a lousy politician because his veterans were now disbanded. They were now retired. But to be able to have your full retirement, you needed your land that was promised to you. And the Optimates, not wanting Pompeius to get too powerful, have been blocking his acta or his treaties, as well as giving land to his veterans. So you have all these veterans in Rome who don't have the money they want, who don't have the land they want, and Pompeius is, of course, stopped politically. Hence, one of the reasons why Caesar's able to pick him up as an ally. The other member of the triumvirate to balance it out is Marcus Crassus, biggest lender in Rome because he was wealthiest. And he had a special thing of no interest loans, which is pretty cool. No interest loans are wonderful. You don't have to pay money on it. However, Crassus, in making loans, could call in the loan at any time to be paid in full. Now, remember, the senators had to be borrowing a lot of money every time to sustain their lifestyle, because every 5 years there would be a census to make sure that they had enough money in the bank to have that position. And now Crassus has a real political handhold in the Senate because though Caesar could control the people, you can't control the senators very well unless you have the guy who has the gold. Remember the golden rule: he who has the gold makes the rules. So it's a very interesting and very powerful triumvirate. Caesar uh, as the leader of the populares, loved by the masses. Pompeius, who has a heck of a lot of gravitas, as well as all of these veterans who are very dissatisfied with not having their land and money. And finally, Crassus, who has serious political control in the Senate. All right, well, there's the background for what you need for this video. I look forward to reading your paragraphs.